Yo, what is going on, my dudes? Welcome to another RuneScape news coverage video. For this video, we're going to go over some feedback changes to the mining and smithing rework. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go. Alright guys, before I get started, I just want to say that these changes are actually some of the things that you guys in my comment section has actually had concerns about, so I'm sure a lot of you are going to be excited to hear some of these changes. Also, the updated design documents discussed in this video will be linked down in the description below. If you want to go check those out for yourself, head on over there. With that out of the way, we're going to jump right into it. First up, we have the ore bag. Those of you who may have not partook in the beta, the ore bag was something that would pop into your inventory whenever you went mining, and it would destroy automatically. This is actually being scrapped and reimagined as an ore box, which you can make with the smithing skill or buy from other players or on the GE, but you have to remember to take it with you. It's not something that's going to automatically pop into your inventory like the ore bag does. So let's get right into what that actually entails. The ore box is basically a mechanic that will allow you to collect more ore than you normally would fit in your average inventory to allow you to mine for longer sessions without interrupting your session with banking. So the ore box is an inventory object which is bankable and tradable. To make it, you will need 2 bronze bars. Now by default, the ore box will only hold 100 copper and 100 tin. Player's ore is tracked on variables, so having multiple ore boxes is not going to help you. There will be some rewards and upgrades that can increase the capacity of the ore box, either for a specific ore or for all ores. And they've removed any hand-holding mechanics. Like I said, it won't pop into your inventory like the bag used to on the beta, so a player's going to need to remember to bring it with them if they want that extended inventory space. It'll still be loaded in the same way the ore bag was, where you just click on it and it fills it up, but it will not destroy if you try to bank it. So since the regular ore box will only hold copper and tin, you're gonna need to upgrade it if you want it to have those higher level ores. Bear in mind, when you're upgrading your ore box, they must be upgraded in order by tier. So you'll need to start with the bronze ore box, upgrade it to iron, then upgrade it to steel, all the way up until the Elder Rune tier. While making an ore box does require a smithing level, using any items on it will not. So there are 9 upgrades in total. Each upgrade will require 2 bars of the corresponding ore that you want it to hold. So for example, if you want the ore box upgrade for iron, it requires 2 iron bars to make. You want the one for steel, it will require 2 steel bars. For mithril, 2 mithril bars, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Each upgrade can not only hold 100 of its respective ore, but also 100 of the tiers below it. And there also is one all-in-one box upgrade where all you have to do is combine one of each tier of ore box together, and that will create a new all-in-one ore box. Essentially, this is identical to the highest tier one that you'd make yourself, the Elder Rune one. They function identically, both the Elder Rune and the all-in-one version. The only difference is that you can create the all-in-one version right away. You don't have to upgrade from the lowest tier downwards. So it's a way of anybody who wants to skip that process of creating it yourself, they can just buy all the lower tiers on the GE, upgrade it there. This also means that any player who does not have the smithing level to reach a certain tier of ore box, because like I said, you do need a smithing level to create them, could just in fact buy this all-in-one version instead, which to me seems useful for any type of player who for some reason has a really high mining level with a relatively low smithing level. They still want to take advantage of having a high tier ore box. They can simply make this version bypassing the smithing requirement. So that pretty much closes it out for the ore box. Let me know what you guys think about it. Moving on, we got upgraded Masterwork Armor that I talked about in a previous video. So the last time we talked about this, we learned that the upgraded version, the tier 92 armor, degrades to dust, and I've already voiced my opinion about that. I don't think it was a very good idea, and ModJack has heard us. He has made it so you can repair it. It does not degrade to dust. It will degrade to a broken state. So in order to repair this new Masterwork Armor, you will need brand new pieces of the lower tiered Masterwork Armor. That is the tier 90 set. So you use your tier 90 set on the corresponding piece for the tier 92 set and you repair it back to full. Essentially what this does, if you remember, making the tier 92 version, you have to break down Torva and Malevolent armors to get those essences I talked about before. This would mean that you only ever have to break down a Torva set and Malevolent set one time. Any subsequent recharges, all you need is the tier 90 version, which is the one that you made prior to adding those two lower tier armor types, which effectively does make it so it's nowhere near as much as a sink for Torva and Malevolent, but it is a sink for those materials needed to make the Masterwork Armor originally. Bear in mind that the repair process does not require any particular smithing level to perform. Reason for that, if you're somebody who happened to have bought the tier 92 armor and you don't have the necessary smithing level yourself to make it, repairing it should be no problem to you. Now, if we quickly look at the augmented version of the upgraded Masterwork Armor, it is actually going to have its internal charge pack, similar to what Malevolence and the other Degraded Dust armors have, rather than drawing from your universal charge pack. This means that augmenting those items is going to require an upfront consumption of 36 divine charges per piece. The way it works is when an item will degrade, the charge is also simultaneously depleted. So once an item actually degrades to its broken state, it needs to be both repaired and recharged. So you'll need the equivalent Masterwork Armor piece like I said before, and another additional 36 divine charges in order to fully repair it, assuming it's augmented. Moving on to the next change, we have the Artisans Workshop. So ceremonial swords are coming back. However, they're going to be an optional D&D that can occur while you're smithing in the same manner as, for example, the pit from Agility. Bear in mind, it won't be a daily and not necessarily time limited, so these can happen frequently and you can keep making ceremonial swords. So whenever you're training in the Artisans Workshop, you have a chance of a dwarf appearing and running up to you, handing you a ceremonial sword design. Now the chance of getting the design scales with the amount of progress required to make the item. Faster or slower items that you're making naturally generate designs at the same rate. The design will be random from numbers 1 through 5, which will determine the pattern of sword you will make. I'm sure if you've done ceremonial swords before, you're familiar with that process. Players will be able to choose between bronze and rune to make the sword out of. Obviously, the higher tier metals have a higher smithing requirement and award more XP, but are also harder to get a good score on. You must make these swords at any of the anvils in the Artisans Workshop area. This will bring up the sword making interface that I'm sure you're familiar with, and there is a performance multiplier added to the base XP for each ceremonial sword of that type. So the better you do, the more XP you're rewarded. The XP is balanced to be very generous for the player's level and the time they spend, and also very generous for materials considering there's not going to be any materials used. So apparently as long as you got one of these sword designs, you'll be able to make the sword. It doesn't seem like it will take any of your raw resources. Keep in mind that if you have a design in your inventory or in your bank, you cannot receive another one. This is to stop people from hoarding these as they feel like that's not the intended use of the mechanic, but rather a distraction that breaks you up from the monotony of regular smithing. The removal of ceremonial swords was something that people in my comment section were concerned about, so hopefully hearing this, it at least satiates that concern knowing that they're still going to remain in the game. And finally, the final change is a low heat smithing mechanic. If you're familiar in the beta, you have to keep your items at a certain heat level in order to keep working on them while you're smithing. Once they cool down, you have to reheat them if you want to make any more progress. So they're adding this new low heat mechanic which will allow you to continue to keep smithing your item even at 0 heat. Now bear in mind, if you are smithing your things at 0 heat, there will be a 50% penalty on the progress you're making. So it will be far slower to just simply AFK it entirely, but they are leaving the 100% AFK option available to players who want to do that. So again, I say this in the videos a lot, they are pushing this skilling diversity very hard, and this is another facet of that, or trying to achieve that. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about that. You really get to decide the way you want to train the skill when they start adding things like this, and I think that is very healthy for the game, at least in my opinion. You can let me know what you guys think about it. Anyways, that actually wraps it up for all the changes we have for this so far. The design documents, as I said, will all be down in the description below. If you want to fully read them off for yourself, head on over there. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you are not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. I am out. Peace.